And that's why the ideal match for an INFP is a body pillow. Hello everybody, I'm TrebleKnight, and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be asking the question, what is the ideal match for an INFP? So I thought it would be fun to rank all of the possible matches that an INFP might encounter and put them all on this convenient tier list. But without further ado, let's get started. So first up we have the ISTP. Now ISTPs are very similar to INTPs, and I definitely like dating INTPs, but the ISTP, they're just such a down-to-earth physical type that I don't feel like INFPs would have a lot in common. Not to mention like the cold, kind of logical way that they go about things could definitely be a little bit off-putting. So I'm gonna put them in B tier. Not a terrible match or anything, but it's definitely going to be a bit of a challenge. Next up we have ISTJs, and ISTJs, they're a very by-the-book kind of type, a very big into if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I think the annoying thing about dating a type like this is an INFP is gonna wanna have fun and experiment with ideas and everything else, and then an ISTJ is just going to be constantly shooting down the ideas. Like earlier today, me and my girlfriend made some jokes about teaming up with Nicolas Cage to stealing the Declaration of Independence. And like an ISTJ would have just been like, that's a felony, that's just a movie. It's like, well, yeah, obviously. We're making jokes. Take a chill pill. So I'm gonna put them in C tier. Now, ISFPs are really interesting. They have the exact same dominant function and inferior function. So ISFPs and INFPs are going to definitely have a lot of the same strengths and weaknesses, which means they're not going to complement each other very well, which, you know, might be a problem, but it also means that it's going to be kind of an easy relationship. And that's one thing I would say about an ISFP. It'd be a fun relationship, though ISFPs are definitely a lot more grounded. They're a lot more in reality. So I don't think it would be quite as two peas in the pod as you might think. Like, it'd be close, but like they'd be the pea just outside of the pod. So I'm gonna put this in A tier. Next up we have ISFJ, and you know, this type is just going to be kind of boring. Like, it's a very stable type. So if you're looking for a stable partner, there's going to be that for you. It is a feeling type, though it is extroverted feelings. That's going to be a little bit awkward because their feelings are going to be more outwardly focused, while yours are going to be more inwardly focused. I don't think it's in A tier quite yet, but I do think they would be a better match than an ISTP. So, well, of course, if the website would work the way I wanted it to. Next up, we have INTPs. As you guys know, I have a lot of experience dating INTPs. I like them a lot. I like how their brain works. You know, even the fact that they look at things logically. Being an INFP that does value logic, I can kind of enjoy that. At the same time, INTPs are cold. You can't really get around that point. They're definitely a cold kind of type. And while they are definitely more logical, I don't feel like they complement the INFP's weaknesses all that well. So it's like, okay, there's a little bit of a challenge here, but not in a particularly productive way. So I'm gonna put it in A tier, probably just behind ISFP. Next up we have INTJ, which is a dominant NI type, which is interesting. NI is definitely an interesting cognitive function, and INTJs just have a really interesting way of looking at the world. Their secondary function is TE, so they're a very logical type, just like ISTPs and INTPs, but their logic is a little bit more practical. It's kind of like the difference between a scientist and an engineer. I'd say like an INTP is a scientist, but an INTJ is an engineer. They also have third slot FI, so they're definitely more in touch with their feelings and their own values, which is a nice touch, being that, you know, INTPs have FE and it's way at the back of the bus. So I'm gonna put them in A tier, just before INTP, but after ISFP. Next up we have INFP. This is going to be a pretty easy relationship. You guys are going to get along in most things, see stuff the same way. You're gonna be on the same world. However, obviously, you're not going to complement each other at all. So it's an easy relationship, but not really a relationship where you're going to do a lot of growing. Next up, we have INFJs. And what I don't like about INFJs is just the chameleon nature of them. They feel like, just they feel kind of fake in a lot of ways to me. They have a similar vibe, sure, but at the same time, I don't feel like they're likely to stand up for what they believe in or go up to bat for a lot of things. I'm gonna put them in B tier. I just don't know, like before ISFJ or after. I'm gonna put before, just because their vibe is pretty similar to INFPs, and I think there could be a pretty good vibe there. Okay, so next up we have ESTPs. I'm gonna put them in the bottom tier. ESTPs, you know, I make a lot of jokes about them. They're definitely a very assertive type, a very, very much in the moment type, very physical type, impulsive as well. It would be a challenge for an INFP to date, certainly. There is value in SE, definitely. I can appreciate the whole very mindful aspect of it. I wish I could be more mindful in the moment and not constantly thinking about present and the future. So you might be like, oh, well, that's good because they could help you be more in the moment. And like, no, they can't. Because after their dominant function, they have TI, which is very logical. Like an ESTP is very liable if you're having a hard time to just basically say, suck it up. ESTJs have the exact same opposite functions of the INFP, so they're going to be very hard to date. Their feeling function is FI, so that's nice, but it's way in the back. They don't value it at all. It would be a very hard thing to date in ESTJ. So next up we have the ESFP, which is the personality type of every woman influencer and celebrity. That's an exaggeration, but so many of them are. And they are very similar to ESTPs, that they have SE as a dominant function, but their secondary function is FI. So they're very much about being true to who they are. I can appreciate that, certainly. And they do seem like a type that has a lot of fun, but like fun within their own values and stuff like that. The only thing is I feel like the INFP sense of fun and the ESFP sense of fun are going to be really, really challenging. So I'm gonna put them in C tier. I feel like they're just shy of B tier, but they wouldn't be a bad relationship per se, but it would definitely be a challenge. Though I don't think any of these types would be a bad relationship with an INFP. It's just, you know, some of them are going to be harder than others. So next up we have ISFJ, very similar to ESFJ, but they're going to be a lot more open to new ideas than an ISFJ would be. So I'm going to put them just ahead of them. Next up, we have ENTPs. ENTPs are a lot of fun. I like this type. I like the way they look at things. I like it how they're very logical, how they use their NE to look at different ideas, how they are surprisingly empathic, even if they don't necessarily show it. They're a type that I would certainly like to watch on a YouTube video, but they're not a type I think I'd want to personally get involved in a relationship with, because they're not going to validate my feelings. Like, I mean, maybe a little bit, but not very often. And they're going to be constantly, you know, pushing for growth and things like that, which is good. But look, I'm kind of lazy, so I'm actually just going to put them in B tier, probably right ahead of no, I'm gonna actually put them ahead of the FJs here, but behind the other FJ. Yeah, ENTJs are well known to be the ideal match for an INFP. Their cognitive functions are set that they really do complement each other quite well. I've never dated an ENTJ though, probably because female ENTJs are pretty darn rare. But I can definitely like appreciate their way of getting things done, their way of delegating tasks and being very productive. So I feel like they could certainly be beneficial in an INFP relationship, but I think that it is going to be a bit more intense than a relationship with an INFP. Next up, you have ENFPs. I like ENFPs a lot. Like, they have high NE, which I enjoy. Their auxiliary is FI, so they're really connected to values. I like how the ENFP mind works, but at the same time, I feel like ENFPs are a little bit intense. I dated an ENFP for a short time, and she was great and all, but like, she wanted to move way faster than I wanted to. She was a bit intense and things like that. And as intense and as fast as she was, I don't feel like ENFPs are super complimentary. Like, they are a little bit, but I don't think they're quite as high as an INFP. And finally, we have ENFJ. The type of the sword, so that's cool. ENFJ's dominant is FE, so they're very empathic. They're definitely a leading type So they're going to challenge you, but not in a way that is going to be super challenging, if that makes any sense. But I don't know where I want to put them. Like, it's either the S tier or the A tier. And I'm kind of like thinking at the end of both of these tiers, which doesn't make a lot of sense. Yeah, I'm gonna put them at the end of A tier. They don't share any cognitive functions with INFPs, but their functions almost kind of rhyme with theirs. They have a feeling as a dominant and a thinking as an inferior. So I think they fit in the A tier. And that is my tier list. I'm super interested to see how you guys have ranked all the types. Definitely my list is biased. I am currently dating an INFP, so, keep that in mind. Anyway, that's it from me. Thank you guys so much for watching. Special thanks to my patrons, and I'll catch you all next time.